Good morning and welcome to Let Us Reason Together. Today is March 12th, 2026, and today here at Moffat County School District is our last day with students before spring break. So it'll probably be a pretty crazy day today. Well, we are continuing our look at Philippians, and we're in Philippians chapter 1 this morning. We're going to look at verses 9 through 11, and we're just going to continue to see more of a pastor's heart here as the Apostle Paul really gives one of the most profound prayers in the New Testament. He says this beginning in verse 11, "And this I pray, that your love may abound still more and more in real knowledge and all discernment, so that you may approve the things that are excellent, in order to be sincere and blameless until the day of Christ, having been filled with the fruit of righteousness, which comes through Jesus Christ, to the glory and praise of God." Well, after Paul has expressed his deep affection for the church at Philippi, now he tells them what he's praying for them. And this prayer reveals something really important. Paul does not pray for their comfort. He does not pray for their success. He prays for their spiritual maturity. And a lot of times, spiritual maturity is a product of a lack of comfort and a lack sometimes of worldly success. And so this verse shows us what true Christian spiritual growth looks like. In verse 9, he talks about a love that grows in truth. He says, "And this I pray, that your love may abound still more and more." Paul begins with love. See, love is the defining mark of the Christian life. But I want you to notice something crucial here. Paul does not pray for love alone. He prays that their love would abound in real knowledge and all discernment. In other words, Christian love it has to be guided by truth. Biblical love is not blind sentiment. It is informed by the knowledge of God. That word translated real knowledge refers to a deep experiential understanding of truth, particularly the truth revealed by Christ. Discernment refers to the ability to distinguish what is right and what is wrong, what is wise and what is foolish. And I think there's such a lack of that in the church today. I think I'm always struck by what I call the latest Christian fad, and whatever that is. It may be some music, it may be a book, a podcast, whatever. And there's a real lack of discernment, a real lack of an ability to distinguish between what is right and wrong. In our culture, love is often defined as unconditional affirmation. If you really love someone, then you never tell them they're wrong. But biblical truth seeks what is truly good. It loves truth. It pursues holiness. It reflects the character of God. And then in verse 10, he talks about the ability to recognize what is excellent, so that you may approve the things that are excellent. When love is guided by knowledge and discernment, believers develop spiritual clarity. We begin to recognize what truly matters, what's really important in life. The phrase "approve the things that are excellent" means to carefully evaluate and choose what is best. The Christian life is not simply about avoiding obvious sin. It is about pursuing what is most pleasing to God. Mature believers learn to prioritize what's important. They understand that eternal realities are over temporary ones, that God's will is over our personal preferences, and that spiritual growth is more important than worldly success. And this kind of discernment only develops as believers grow in their knowledge of the Word of God. And then Paul talks here in verse 10 about being sincere and blameless until Christ returns. He says, in order to be sincere and blameless until the day of Christ. Paul is now looking toward the future. The day of Christ refers to the return of Jesus, the day when believers will stand before him. Paul's prayer is that the Philippian Christians would live lives marked by sincerity and integrity until that day comes. Sincere refers to a purity of heart, a life without hypocrisy. Blameless refers to a life that does not give legitimate cause for accusation. This reflects really the ongoing work of sanctification in our lives. God not only justifies his people, he transforms us. The Christian life is a process of growing holiness as believers, or growing in holiness as we are conformed to the image of Christ. And then in verse 11, Paul mentions the fruit of righteousness. He says, having been filled with the fruit of righteousness, he describes the visible evidence of spiritual growth. And that is the fact is that a life shaped by Christ begins to bear fruit. And that fruit includes obedience, humility, love for others, a purity of life, a devotion to God. But notice something very important. That fruit comes, Paul says, through Jesus Christ. Even our spiritual growth is ultimately dependent on Christ. So that means that the person that professes Christ but does not bear those fruits aren't what saved them, but they are evidence that Christ is in their life. And Paul is saying that right here. He is our source of righteousness. He empowers our ability to obey. He produces fruit in the lives of his people. As Jesus said in the Gospel of John, apart from me, you can do nothing. The Christian life is not self-improvement. The Christian life is Christ living through his people. And then the ultimate goal, God's glory. Look at the end of verse 11. To the glory and praise of God. The final phrase reveals the ultimate purpose of everything that Paul has prayed for. Love, discernment, holiness, righteous fruit. All of it exists for one great purpose, and that is the glory of God. The Christian life is not centered on human achievement. It is centered on divine glory. When believers grow in holiness, God is honored. When the church reflects the character of Christ, God is praised. From the beginning to end, salvation is designed to magnify the grace of God. So ask yourself this morning, is my love growing in knowledge and discernment? Am I learning to pursue what is truly excellent, what is truly important? And is my life producing the fruit of righteousness through Christ? Spiritual maturity does not happen accidentally. It grows through prayer, through the study of the word, and through the transforming work of Christ. Well, I want to thank you for joining us this morning. I pray that you've been blessed by this. If you have, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, and share this with as many people as possible. Pray that you have a great day, and we'll see you next time.